Okay, hi guys. Today I'm going to tell you a story. This story is called Toby and the Time Machine. Now, Toby was a pretty regular boy. He went to school, he played basketball. He's a pretty cool dude, and lots of friends, and he was pretty regular, just like you. But Toby one day was walking to school and he came across a time machine. Now, this time machine drew his eyes because there was flashing lights everywhere and panels with buttons, and it was all different colours, and it looked really cool. So Toby jumped in and he shut the door, and it started to whir, make all these buzzing noises, and there was a couple of panels on there. There was like a big green light and some red flashing lights on the ground. And there was a couple of panels that said where he could go in this time machine. And one said the future and one said the past. And so Toby thought, well, that's kind of cool. I can go to either. And Toby didn't look at them really carefully, but he just glanced down and that's what he saw, the future and the past. So Toby went off and he kind of realised that the panels didn't have buttons on them either. Once he closed the door and he starts whirring around, he didn't actually get to choose where he went. So off he went in this time machine and he'd go to the past, and as he was kind of whirring around, all of these things came up onto the windows and showed the past, and so he could revisit the past. And at the start he thought, well, that's kind of cool really, isn't it? But everything that flashed up were bad memories. Things when he'd had a fight with his mum and dad, when his friend wouldn't play with him, when he got a bad grade at school, when his puppy dog died, all sorts of really bad memories. And he started feeling bad in his body, and then he started having thoughts as well that went along with them, because when we feel bad in our body and we have an emotion like sadness or anger, then a thought comes with it. And so he started thinking, oh gee, Toby, look at all of these memories. Maybe you're not that cool. Maybe you're not that much of a good bloke. And so these thoughts started going on in his head as well. And he thought, hang on, I don't really like this. And before he could even think about it, it spun around and he's going into the future. So he thought, okay, that's okay. We're out of the past. The future can't be that bad, can it? So he goes into the future, and because he'd been to the past just before, he thought, well, okay, that's all I know. Until I visit the future, that's all I know. So I have to base my future on the past. So he just seen all of these bad memories, and then when he went into the past, he started to have these visions pop up onto the windows which were predicting his future. And so there was things like, you're going to fail and have to stay down at school. And he started getting this feeling of worry. And then the thoughts started coming back, well, really, you are useless, because even your future says that you're not going to even achieve anything. You're not going to succeed. And so then there was all of these things about, well, what happens if mum and dad lose their house because, there's not much money in the world at the moment? And all these worries were going around in his body and swirling around because this time machine decided to predict all of these bad things in the future. And so he started pushing all these buttons and going, I want to get out of here. This is just horrible. And all of a sudden his feet are accidentally moving around when he's trying to push buttons, and his feet land on those red flashing lights. And he pushes down hard on them, and he can feel his feet just pushing down and drawing energy up through the ground, and his body starts to relax and the whirring starts to stop. And he starts to slow down in his time machine, and it comes to a halt. And when he gets out of the time machine, there's this funny thing that's happening around him in his life. Because he's been caught up in this time machine, his life didn't stop. So everyone around him, like his friends, were annoyed because he hadn't been paying them much attention, and his parents were annoyed because he hadn't done his chores, and his teacher was annoyed because he hadn't done well at school. And this was because he was so caught up in the future and the past, because he was using his time machine. And so he went to his nan, because his nan was really wise. She'd been around a long time, she knew lots of things. And his nan sat down with him and said, "Look, Tobe, you know that the time machine's not real, right? That was just what your brain was doing. Everybody's brain does this. It takes you off into the future and the past. It tries to use the past to predict the future. And usually what it predicts is really bad things. And that's only because it wants you to be prepared. It wants you to do your best and to do better than the past, to always do better, to always do better. But if you're feeling really yuck and you're overwhelmed because you've stayed in the past and the future too much, then the feelings come and you feel yucky. And then the thoughts come with it and you feel useless because your mind's telling you you're useless because you've been stuck in the past and in the future. But what the time machine did was it showed you something really cool. When you grounded yourself and you chose to stay in the present and get out of the time machine, you pushed your feet into the floor really firmly and you relaxed your body and you took a deep breath and got out of the time machine, that the present was actually the coolest place to be. So whenever you feel like you're worried too much about the future, that's only just trying to tell you to do your best. Acknowledge it, say, "Thank you, mind, but I'm going to stick in the present for now because that's where I'm going to have all my fun." So next time you're feeling overwhelmed, you're thinking about the past or the future, push your feet into the floor, stop the time machine, take a deep breath and get out and get back into your life. Good luck.